Greetings viewers, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk once again about CVT servicing, whether you should or should not service your CVT transmission. Right off the boat, I know a lot of you get griped about me saying CVT transmission. I'm highly aware that it's redundant because the T in CVT stands for transmission, so I'm saying transmission twice, but it's just the way I'm going to do it. So sorry if you do not like me saying CVT transmission. I'm going to say it. So, that out of the way. On the CVT transmission, the TR580 and TR690, I did a video, I think about a year ago, and a lot of you left some very strongly worded comments on that video, disagreeing with what I said in the video. A lot of what I said in the video, as I explained in the video, was coming from Subaru of America's official stance and their point of view on servicing of these transmissions. They specifically say that you are not to service the transmission, that it is a sealed unit and it is a lifetime fluid. Do I agree with that? Absolutely not, but in the first video, that's what I was trying to get out to you. A lot of people left comments. I do appreciate, because in those comments I did find that there is no general consensus across Subaru Corporation's guidelines. Going further into that, Subaru of America claims it's a lifetime fluid and never replace it. Subaru of Canada says to replace it every 50,000 kilometers, if I recall correctly from some of my Canadian viewers' comments. And Subaru of Japan is still on the same stance they've always been with the transmission, which is to change the fluid every 3 years, 36,000 miles, which was the basic standard with the old 4EAT and 5EAT conventional automatic. So, that said, do I think you should service your transmission? I absolutely do. Do I think that you, as a DIYer, should service it? Probably not. It's case by case. It depends. It is not an easy service as, say, a 4EAT, where you just drain the pan and put a funnel in the dipstick tube and refill the transmission, check the fluid level with the dipstick, and you're good to go. With the CVT transmissions, you have to pump the transmission fluid in through the side of the case on the TR580 and the rear of the case on the TR690. So you need a fluid transfer pump. You also need a scan tool, because you have to monitor the transmission fluid temperature. It has to be at a specific temperature to get the correct reading for full. And you have to have the car perfectly level on either a 4-post lift, 2-post lift on jack stands, and it's kind of hard to do outside of a shop setting. That said, is it impossible to do? Absolutely not, but it is a little more tricky to do than service your old conventional automatic transmission. So a lot of you were talking in the comments as well as I mentioned, about Subaru's extended powertrain warranty on the CVT transmission, and whether or not replacing the fluid would void the warranty. When I talked to the Subaru of America hotline, they indicated that that would not be advised, that it could possibly, hurt or void your warranty. And I understand why they would do that, because, every Tom, Dick, and Harry does not need to go out there and work on their own car. Not to call anyone out, but I've had plenty of viewers that have asked me questions that, they got in over their head, and that's easy to do. I know a lot of my videos instill more confidence. Basically, any DIY YouTube video on auto repair sometimes instills too much confidence in viewers to tackle jobs they probably shouldn't do. They don't have the skill set or the tools to do it. I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but have a level head on your shoulders when you think about what you're about to get yourself into when it comes to this kind of stuff. Do you want to destroy a $5,000-$6,000 transmission because you didn't get it right servicing it? I should hope not. Again, not going to call any viewers out, but I have had in the past questions from viewers who went to do an oil change and accidentally drain their transmission. They went to service their front differential and accidentally drained their transmission, subsequently destroying the transmission. I've heard stories of quick lubes having the issue. Back on the old 40AT, which was a great transmission and a dream to service with the spin-on oil filter style transmission filter and the drain plug. It's speculation. I don't know 100% if it's true or not, but I heard the main reason that Subaru did away with the external spin-on oil filters for the transmission is because of the abundance of issues that they were having with lube techs, quick lube type oil change places, draining the transmission, double filling the engine oil, and screwing up the customer's engine and burning up the transmission, which I have seen it done. The 05 Forester LL Bean Edition I bought about a year ago, and we went through the engine and stuff on. That one was at a Walmart service center, had the exact same thing happen to it. If you recall, the oil pan was marked in letters with oil, the transmission pan was marked trans, and they had a Fram engine oil filter on the transmission. So obviously someone accidentally drained the transmission thinking they were servicing the engine. To me, technicians have been doing this for a long time. It seems incredibly laughable that anyone could make that mistake. I mean, it's night and day difference to me that, how do you not know the difference between a transmission and the engine looking underneath? But, you got to think about everyone's skill set and everyone's level. But we're getting a little off topic. We'll get back to it. But yes, absolutely, I believe that you should most likely go by Subaru Japan's guidelines, 3-year, 36,000 mile fluid replacements. I'm not quite sure what Subaru of America is thinking with their so-called lifetime rating of the fluid. We all know that no fluid is lifetime. There's no perfect fluid out there that is exempt from breakdown via heat cycles, friction, and everything else that goes on inside the transmission. There's no perfect fluid that completely retains its original properties after 100,000, 200,000 miles. It's just not going to happen. Just not how it works. So I don't know what Subaru America's angle is here, telling people not to service it. I don't know if they're putting some planned obsolescence in there or what. It was only, it can only be speculation on my part. But Subaru of Canada and Subaru of Japan seem to be on the right track with the 50,000 kilometer service and 3-year, 36,000 mile continuing over from service that we did on 4 and 5 EAT conventionals. That said, the cost to service the CVT transmission is a lot higher than the 4 and 5 EAT, mainly because the cost of the CVT fluid, when you do a replacement on either the TR580 or TR690, the parts department gives you about 8 quarts, and it takes, give or take, 8 quarts to get the job done on a just drain the pan and refill kind of service. And 8 quarts right now, I believe, comes out to about $120, $140 worth of fluid. So it's not a cheap service. I have questioned a lot of you viewers asked, would I use AMS oil or any of these other brands? And the answer is no. Use the Subaru Idemitsu CVT F2 fluid or whatever is recommended for yours. I know Subaru has revised the fluid several different times since 2010 when they first started putting the CVTs in primary production in the cars. So whatever your local dealership or say SubaruParts.com or another reputable online supplier tells you to put in it via giving them the VIN number, that's what I suggest you go with. If you use what Subaru engineers designed the transmission to use, you should not have issue. I'm pretty big on OE parts and OE fluids, as most of you know that have been watching for any given amount of time. And it just comes down to the simple fact that these are the fluids and parts that were designed for the vehicle by the people that engineered the entire system. And it is the best choice, in my opinion, for the vehicle. People want to ask about Royal Purple and AMS oil and all these higher end oils. And, at the end of the day, I don't see the need to spend the money and go to anything else. I use my 2002 LL Bean Outback as a reference for a lot of things. I'm at 298 8,000 miles now. I'm right at 300,000 miles, and I still just use regular 530 CarQuest conventional engine oil in it. I don't use high mileage synthetic. That's a waste of money in my opinion. Plus I've seen plenty of high mileage engines switch to synthetic and start burning oil, using oil, leaking oil, just because of the properties of synthetic. But we don't get into an argument over synthetic oil. Again, we're talking about the TR690 and TR580. So as I said in the other video as well, I do see the side of things from Subaru of America in the fact that the CVT fluid does not break down nor get as contaminated as traditional automatic transmission fluid does in, say, the 4 and 5 VAT conventionals, because they do not have a ton of steels and friction disc, clutch packs, bands, all that other stuff with the friction material that breaks down, gets in the fluid, thickens the fluid, heats the fluid, burns the fluid up, and puts that grit in the fluid, making the fluid basically a liquid sandpaper, so you don't have as much damage done to the aluminum case and the other components of the transmission as, say, a traditional automatic. But that said, you still go for heat cycles on the CVT. There is a small clutch pack in the CVT. If I remember right, I think it's located in the tail housing for the transfer clutch, similar to how the 4 and 5 VAT got the power to the prop shaft and the rear wheels. I'm pretty sure that whole tail housing setup is still the same. On servicing it, what do I recommend? Should I just drain and refill it? And yes, that's what I think you should do. That's what I'd recommend. Just pull the drain plug, let it drain out, pump the new fluid in, and be done with it. There is no filter to change. There is no reason to drop the oil pan unless you are doing internal work, say replacing a bad valve body or a failed solenoid, something like that. There's no reason just to drop the pan for the heck of it. There is no filter in there that you can get. I've had this argument and discussion with people for years on the channel when servicing the 4EAT, the 5EAT, and now the TR580 and 690. Subarus do not have a filter in the pan. It is an oil strainer slash pickup. It is no different than the oil pickup that goes from the oil pump into the oil pan on your engine. It is just a piece there to siphon up the fluid. There is some wire mesh in there. It's just to keep any big chunks out of the pump in case of, some kind of large failure. But there is no filter media in there. If you look it up on Subaru parts or talk to your parts department guy, look at the dealership, it is listed as a strainer slash pickup. It is not a filter. There is no filter media. You're wasting your time dropping the pan. Unless you so feel inclined to drop it and get the little bit of goo out of the pan and clean your magnet. But, you really don't need to do that. As I mentioned in the last video, there is a filter for the 690 and 580. That filter, though, is a lifetime kind of deal. To access the filter, you'd have to remove the transmission and split the transmission case in half. This filter is located between two of the half case pieces. If I remember right, the 580 is 3 sections and the 690 is 4 sections. But I will put a diagram up showing the location in the 580 and the 690. The filter is really something you only replace if you were doing a full teardown rebuild. But if you're buying a reman or whatever, they already replaced that. So nothing you ever need to buy and worry about replacing. You're not going to do it in your driveway. And it's honestly probably not worth the hassle to try to do it. It's kind of like how the new fuel filters are so-called lifetime and you don't ever have to replace them since 2004, 2005 when they put them in the fuel tank in the fuel pump module. So again, getting off subject just a hair. So long story short, do I feel that you should service your CVT transmission? And the answer is yes, you should change your fluid at regular intervals. It will help prolong the life of the transmission and only do good. There's nothing that's gonna do any harm unless you don't fill it properly, you overfill it, you get contaminated fluid in there, you get dirt in there, some kind of debris. That's the only issue that you come into. but there is nothing that's going to go bad by putting brand new, original quality fluid in a transmission. Yes, change your transmission fluid. Yes, service it. If you're not comfortable doing it, take it to the dealership. If the dealership refuses to do it, call Subaru of America. Whether they'll help you or not, I don't know. Try a different dealership. Try a good, certified, independent Subaru shop. Someone that knows what they're doing. You don't want to take this to some quick lube place and get them to do the transmission fluid because a lot of times they're not going to do it correctly either. They're not experienced with that particular system on the Subaru. They're just no drain and put fluid in, and they go by whatever the computer tells them if they even bother to look up the procedures. So these transmissions are not cheap when they fail, especially outside of warranty. Remans are like $5,000 to $6,000. That said, you can get salvage yard transmissions for $500 or $600, which a lot of people in the cross-track video, 200 something thousand miles on the original, as far as I know, TR580, they're like, well, what are you going to do when that transmission blows? And it's going to cost as much as you paid for the car to replace it. I said, well, I'm not worried about it because I'm going to go buy a $500 TR580 out of the junkyard and throw it back in there and be rolling right along. I'm not going to buy a reman or a new one from Subaru. That's just a waste of money and silly to have put into a 7-year-old car with 200 something thousand miles. But yeah, getting off on another tangent away from the whole point of this video. And yeah, just wanted to make a more updated video for you guys, especially you guys that got really upset with me. It's telling you what Subaru of America's position was, even though I tried to explain that it wasn't my position. But, we got to go with what they say as long as you've got the warranty, if you want them to honor the warranty. So it is what it is. That said, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.